Welcome everyone back to episode 1 of Time for Mental Health. Today again, joined by Viaano and Keegan. Time for Mental Health podcast is a podcast where we aim to normalize the sharing of mental health experiences. So in the pilot episode, we have kind of did a little teaser about what we were going to say in episode 1. So it's about Singapore and the mental experiences in Singapore, and a little bit of our introduction as to how we came here, our experiences of mental health, and how we grew through the experiences. Yeah, so before everything, we would like to start by asking Viaano, who is the founder of Huddle Humans, how, why, just go ahead, anything. How do you get here?
How did I get here? I got here through Keegan's car, actually. I think Keegan picked me up in the morning.
Hot day, right?
Really, really hot day, so I think that's how we got here. But I think to answer the question for real, I think how we got here is that this wasn't easy. It took a few weeks, a month to actually get everything ready. Get all the equipment ready, get all the audio stuff to be set up. And I think really kudos to Fabian and Keegan, for helping out and for being part of the podcast. I think I'm very grateful and lucky to have both of them to run this podcast. And I think there'll be more guests that will be joining us in subsequent episodes. So do keep a lookout for that. Yeah. So, but if you haven't checked out the first episode, which is actually episode 0, that's where we explain what this podcast is all about. So yeah, check it out. Yeah.
So I understand that Huddle Humans has actually been around for quite some time, right? So maybe you want to share like the journey here or...
Okay, so I started Huddle Humans back in 2017. So it's been a while. I mean, it's 2022 now. So it's about 5 years, yeah. So I guess the reason why I started Huddle Humans back then, there's actually 2 reasons. The first reason was, I had mental health experiences. So I actually have anxiety experiences. So whenever it comes to performances or whenever there's competitions and so on and so forth, I get this really, really I get really anxious to the point where I tremor, and everything feels very jittery. My teeth start shaking. It's all this physiological symptoms appearing, mental, physical, and because of that, I've been keeping it in since I was a kid. Since I was in primary school, all the way till now. And when I was 19 years old or 18 years old at the end of 2016, I actually went to see a doctor about this, and I went there alone.
May I just cut in, which doctor do you see, or
So it was a local doctor, so it's my childhood doctor. I'm not gonna say the place, but so carrying on the story, I went there. I'm talking about my issues, my anxiety experiences, and he kind of swiped it aside. I was 18, I was still a young teenager, and I kind of felt like he didn't deem it valid enough. So basically, I didn't really get any help. First, I didn't get a referral, I didn't get any prescriptions. And the best part of it all is that he mentioned that he couldn't really do much because my parents weren't there. And I felt that reason, and I still feel the reason is absolutely absurd. I mean, what is the basis? Most youth or most teenagers, why would most of them wouldn't tell their parents about their mental health experiences? Because it's stigmatized, and in conservative countries, and I would say Singapore is a really conservative country. If you tell about your mental health experiences to your parents, for some, they're most likely, get discriminated or looked down upon. Hey, son, why are you telling me all this? Just man up. Just forget about it. But all this doesn't really help because people don't really know what mental health is. The level of psychoeducation here in Singapore, from what I've seen, it's not being respected. It's not being talked about, and I think that's why the level of knowledge about mental health is so low, and that spreads. It's a very widespread factor in Singapore that a lot of people don't know what mental health is, and I think that's the first reason. going to the doctor and not getting help. That really gave me kind of like a trauma in that regard. The second reason, and it's a very important reason, is that I just chanced upon going to the Institute of Mental Health for an internship. So I was actually studying social sciences back in poly, social work, and I was very lucky to be offered this opportunity to do my internship in the Institute of Mental Health Singapore, which is the leading authority when it comes to mental health. It was there where, I was on the ground with all these mental health patients, people with mental health disorders, depression, addiction to alcohol, and so on and so forth. And, being with them, in short, it really changed my eyes because I saw them as the complete opposite of the stories that I was indoctrinated with. I mean, people were telling me, Woodbridge Hospital, which is the former name of Institute of Mental Health, was a land of the crazies. People would actually be screaming over there, and then, don't go near Woodbridge Hospital. And then, growing up, I felt really scared. I mean, have you guys heard of Woodbridge Hospital back then? Yeah. So I think, and then at first when I was going there, I felt anxious. I felt like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Because I didn't know anything about mental health. They don't teach you mental health in schools. So, but then I quickly realized after a week or so that, oh my gosh, it's so different. I mean, some of the people there I met were so genuine, so talented. They were amazing people. I mean, they taught me a lot of things in life. And I think it was because of that experience where I learned so much about mental health. And I really, took this experience and grew into it. And I found my passion in mental health at such a young age. I'm so incredibly privileged to be able to start Huddle Humans. I want it to be a platform where people can share their mental health experiences in a safe, affirming, and most importantly, in a non-judgmental environment. You don't have to be afraid about talking about your mental health. Yeah. So that's why I started Huddle Humans.
Right. Thanks for your answer. Actually, Institute of Mental Health is a mental institution in Singapore. It's around Hougang, right? So, of course, in Singapore, I too have known of this, been brought up this way that IMH is a place for crazy people,
There's a stigma.
Yeah.
It's all these labels, crazy and...
But actually, like mental health experiences or even some mental health disorders, then don't necessarily come in the form of crazy. It can be in form of like anxiety, where you just get the jitters,
Exactly. And I believe, mental health experiences, everyone has mental health experiences. It's just some people manifest it. It's more obvious for some people, they manifest it more strongly. But I just feel, every one of us, we are dysfunctional to some sort of extent, even in our families. So yeah, that's my own personal opinion.
Keegan, do you have any thoughts or opinions on the current state of mental health or like the education-wise in Singapore, whether it's been done well or...
I mean, I agree with like basically all of Viaano's point that like the system we have in place for mental health in Singapore is very, very poor. So it's like, as mentioned beforehand, that there's a stigma that, IMH, if you go there...
You don't come out.
No, I mean, you don't come out, this one thing. The other thing is that, like, everyone thinks that anyone that goes there, right, has, like, severe mental illness. And then,
Right.
And the people in Singapore think that when you have mental illness, right, you're those that, like, I mean, I don't want to sound bad, but I think the technical term is mentally retarded, right? No, is that is the term, right? I mean, like, that's a very extreme end, correct?
Yeah, that's what has been said. I think.
But I mean, everyone thinks that if I were to come out to my mom right now, right, and say I think I might have some mental illness, she's gonna think like, are you crazy? Like she thinks that I need to be locked up in a white room or something with like the straight jacket or something,
like an asylum.
Yeah. So that's how bad the stigma is in Singapore.
Yeah, and we don't talk about it.
Yeah, we don't talk about
as
it
much
enough.
as we could.
And maybe you want to bring the question to Viaano actually. Like, since we were talking about like the asylums, right? Like how people are actually like tied up and everything. When you enter IMH, what do you see over there? Because I know a lot of people, because of this stigma, they actually don't visit IMH or have never visited it before. So how is it like inside? Like, what is the facilities or like what?
I think from my knowledge, which stems about 5 to 6 years ago, what I know about IMH is that they have different wards, they have 3 different wards. So A, B, and C. So I think, if I'm not wrong, the A ward is where general public go, and the B ward is actually for private patients, or it might be vice versa lah. And then the C ward is specialized addictions, where people have addiction to gambling, alcohol, drugs.
It actually looks like a hospital.
Yeah. But during my experience there, I did see some people that actually got restrained, and I think because they acted up. But it's some symptoms of various mental health disorders does make you act up, but it's not for all. I think there's this general stereotype that, this guy is gonna, steal something, or he's gonna punch you, or but it's not that case. I think that's where the problem comes in. It's because media, movies, I think it exaggerates the symptoms of mental health, which is actually not what it seems to be if you're actually there working or interacting with the patients. No, it's completely opposite. In fact, they are really nice people, and it's just the symptoms can sometimes, it's different for everyone.
Right.
Yeah, so I hope that answers.
Okay. We'll move on to our next topic actually. So we'll talk about our mental health experiences, maybe whatever age we are at, and how we grew up from it. So since I'm the host, I'll start off with my own experience. If you guys may actually realize, sometimes do a little bit of weird tic movements, right? So I may have a disorder called tourettes. Yeah, and basically it's like, to put it the most simplest way for anyone to actually relate to, it's the itch of the mind, right? So when you feel itchy, you scratch yourself. And you scratch and you feel itchy, you get the urge to scratch all the time. Instead of scratching, you have the urge to do a particular movement. Some of us with Tourette's, we have this thing called echolalia. So we kind of repeat words or repeat phrases. And mostly what I get from other people is that they will kind of, I get these looks when I kind of do these tics. And it's not a particularly nice look to say, honestly. But I've had friends like Viaano and Keegan, they tell me it doesn't really affect them. So, like an itch, it doesn't affect others. It's the way you view it,
So
it only affects yourself.
Is there a cure for tics?
There may be something like habit reversal training, or maybe some medications, but we won't want to discuss about medications over here.
Yeah, but
we're no professionals.
But there are ways to manage
Yes.
those movements and
Yes,
so on and
correct.
so forth. Yeah.
And how I kind of grew up from it is like, I think these two buddies of mine, very nice people, they've always been telling me, they've never really said anything mean about these tics. Of course, sometimes where my tics get too weird,
Like it acts up really.
yeah, kind of like, there's like my tic, I kind of like breathe out from my nose.
Yeah.
So there was one time I was eating at a kopitiam, a coffee shop in Singapore. So basically my friend's arm was like near me, and I was constantly breathing on his arm, and he was like, "Hey man, can you just stop that?" I was like, "I'm sorry."
But does he know? Does he know about your Tourette's?
He knows, but
Yeah.
I don't think he gets
Yeah.
that same relatedness. He of course understands. And I don't think he's angry for that.
Yeah.
He's just like, oh, maybe you should change to another tic or something.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That
from
is
this
tough.
experience,
Switch.
Flip the switch.
Yeah, so you got
Right arm
different.
change the level.
Yeah.
So kind of like how I grew from this experience is the people just telling me that it really is how you view the tics and how others look at you. I mean, after a while, it just becomes normal.
It's become like a lifestyle thing.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I've known you for so many years. It has never bothered me one bit.
Thanks.
I've never noticed it.
Thanks,
To be
man.
really honest. Yeah. I mean, if you really look into it, yes, it's obvious. But it just becomes a daily. It's just become part of life kind of thing. It becomes so natural. I've been with you like since forever, and so, I mean, together as in friends. So, so maybe for Keegan it's different, but yeah, it's become very natural.
Wait, hold.
Yeah. What do you say? Well, actually, we welcome the LGBTQ.
We do have a forum like this little
Yeah.
sub forum, right?
We have a very specific channel for it, and it's very popular, LGBTQ. So, I mean, we've strayed a bit off, but, if any of you are interested in it, there's a lot of people talking, and it's 24/7. People interested about the LGBTQ I think there's an I now plus. Yeah. Go check it out. It's a very, very interesting place to share these experiences. Yeah.
So maybe one of you guys can share more about your mental experiences.
I think I've shared earlier, so I think now it's time for Mr. Keegan.
I think personally, right, it's more about like, I wouldn't really say it's very individual because like for me, like most of the mental health experiences I've been through has to do mainly with, I guess, Singapore's education system. Because Singapore, we care so much about the actual cert, the certificate, the degree or whatever. So we only look at the top achievers, and everyone else is just cast aside. So personally, right, I didn't really do well like in terms of studies and in school and stuff, right? Like, I mean, social wise, I still get along with friends and everything. I still cope with everything, but I just can't really do well with studies. And it's not that I didn't put in effort. I mean, I definitely put in effort. Like maybe effort is relative. No, because like I definitely didn't. Okay, I definitely did not put in as much effort compared to those like top scholars. Like they study like every waking hour. The only time they don't study is when they eat, sleep, and that's the only time they don't study. So I definitely didn't put in as much effort as them. But I did put in effort.
It's just you don't have that inclination or that particular attribute.
I guess you can say that,
for that specific study or subject.
I would think so, yeah. So like, so when you're not doing well in the in terms of study and stuff, it gets very stressful. I think most Singaporean students can attest to that. That is very stressful when you are underperforming in the Singapore education system. So and that just carries on throughout your whole education journey. It starts as young as primary school.
Yep.
And then you can't escape it. Secondary school, even if you choose to not go on to the junior college, right? Choose to go to something more specialized like polytechnic, you are still pit against other students based on your grades.
Yep.
Even though sometimes the way the grades are tested, right, may not be the best way to see how knowledgeable that person is.
Exactly. And
about that subject and stuff.
Yeah, and just to cut you in, I think that's why the educational system is constantly changing. I mean, recently in the news, not long ago, I mean, the PSLE, the O levels, I mean, the grading system is changing to reflect, because there was this sense of elitism, like which school you go to signifies how good you are. Right. And I think the education system in Singapore and the ministers, what they've done is they actually listen to the general public and their views over this grading system, and they actually amended it. So now we're actually in the process of, not me, but they are reviewing and seeing how it goes. So I think that is a very interesting point that Keegan brought up, the education system here in Singapore. Yeah.
Is there any difference between how you have looked at it from young and how you currently look at it right now, or how you've grown from this experience?
I mean, back then when I was young, right, and I experienced all these, I mean, actually, like a young kid, not doing well in studies, parents not happy, the kid also not happy. So I grew up quite depressed, and that feeling of depression, right? I mean, I'm not clinically diagnosed with depression or chronic depression or anything, but that feeling of depression doesn't really doesn't permanently leaves you, it resurfaces every now and then. But I think the difference now is that now, at least personally for me now at this current age, I feel like it's not so much about the grades, but more about just it's like the standard, it's not the book smart, it's about the street smart kind of thing,
And I think at the end of the day, it's different for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, you can succeed being book smart, getting the top university, and getting into the a top company and going up the promotion ladder as fast as you can. That is a tried and tested path, and it's very, if you can achieve it, good for you, correct. But for those that can't, right, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world.
And you shouldn't look down on them. Yes. There might be a different path in life. I mean, that's the beauty of diversity, right? Everyone has their own personality. Everyone has their own inclinations. So I think that's a very salient point that Keegan has brought up. Yeah, beautiful.
So finally, to end off, right, I mean, this has been a very close and very heartfelt little conversation that we have. Maybe you want to share about some of our hobbies lah,
Yeah.
to add some casual interaction.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, some fun. So for Keegan, maybe outside of this podcast, what do you do?
Okay. Most of my free time is actually spent, I mean, it's not surprising lah, but because I think majority of Singaporean teenagers are the same at least when I was a teenager.
Mhm.
It was spent playing video games,
Mhm.
specifically Dota 2. So it could have been the education system, it could have been Dota 2. I don't know which caused the
Yeah.
which caused the depression, But yeah, so I play a lot of Dota 2. I play a lot of video games in general, like Apex, also Rocket League. Yeah, we used to play a lot of Rocket League as well.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, like both of you play Dota as well. You know how the
secret's out.
community is like.
The secret's out.
Yeah. I mean, like everyone. Okay, for those of you that don't play Dota, right? Don't play Dota. Okay,
Mm.
don't start. If you haven't started, it's good. It's like smoking. Don't start.
Yeah.
But if you have already, then you can't get out, lah.
We get what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Viaano? What do you do outside of
Well,
podcasts, other humans?
just to name a few, I think first of all, I love sports. I live and breathe football or soccer in the US. Supporter of Manchester United. I mean, ever since I was a kid, I've been into soccer. Playing soccer, watching soccer. The first thing that I do every morning when I wake up is not to brush my teeth, but it's actually to watch or to read soccer news. And that's the first thing I do once my eyes open. So yeah, I play a lot of sports, and I love swimming as well, and all kinds. So that's one thing. I think another thing that all my friends may know about me is that I like to go hiking and just checking out different parks and sceneries. Not only in Singapore but in Australia. I just came back from Australia, so oh my gosh, the scenery there, the landscape, the mountains, there's so many things because the land is so vast and there's so many things to explore. I mean, it never ends. Australia is so big, yeah. So I mean, that's just two things, but we can talk more about that, in future episodes. Yeah.
Right. So of course, my hobbies are pretty simple. I'm a simple person. Outside of this podcast, I actually work in another company just to keep my living expenses. And also I still play some video games like what Keegan mentioned, Dota 2. But recently now, don't really have the time for that. And outside of Dota 2, just look a little bit of like the financial markets,
Oh.
Yeah.
I think that's what Keegan does as well, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not financial advice, yeah.
Yeah. No financial advice here.
No financial advisor here, man.
Yeah.
So just to wrap up this episode, yeah, is there any catchphrase or anything, one sentence or one kind of thing that you want to tell your audience that the audience know, like to push on or
Yeah.
anything, or how we live our lives?
Oh.
I'll start off.
Yeah, Fabian.
So to me, it's like as long as can help this one person, right? Anytime if I can help this one person, be it I bring him up and help him start his own investing journey,
Yeah.
or I can help this person simply just find a way to his house. Recently I just helped this person
Yeah.
like find the block lah.
Beautiful.
So I just walked her there. Yeah.
Good on you, Fabian. Good on you. Okay, I'll go next. So, pretty cliche, but I just always like to say this. That no matter where you are, no matter who you are, no matter what experience you have, you are never alone.
Right.
Not only in your mental health experiences, but anything. You may feel sad. You may feel disencouraged. Not motivated, but at the end of the day, you're never alone. No matter what you feel, if you think you're alone, your parents are not there, your friends are not there, there's always someone out there, and the resources are all out there. You just gotta believe. You just gotta understand. That look, there's always help out there, no matter where you are. So yeah, that's from me. Never alone.
I think for me, right, it's mainly just for those people that are like currently suffering from some kind of mental illness.
Mm.
Is that most of these mental illness, right? Because I'll say, like when you feel sick, when your body is sick and stuff, right, you go and see a doctor and stuff.
Yeah.
When your car is like breaks down,
Mm.
you bring it to a mechanic and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
So if you got like some kind of mental illness, right, you just need to find the right like professional to deal with it. You shouldn't resort to permanent solutions for short-term problems. That's what I feel.
It's actually a really interesting take right there, you know.
Yeah. And not only mental professionals, I mean, community-wise and so on and so forth.
When your car is, like, for example, the car analogy, right?
Yeah.
When your car breaks down, you're not going to set it on fire and throw it away.
Exactly.
You get it repaired.
You burn the Tesla.
Hey. What was that?
To the moon.
Oh. Different podcast.
Not financial advice.
Okay. Continue.
Yeah, so like, if a car breaks down or anything breaks, right, most of the time, you're not going to throw it away, burn it, throw it off 10, 20 floors.
You just need to find the fuel, or the right fuel, the right mechanic.
Just find the right person,
Yeah.
to fix it up and stuff. So I think mental illness, mental health, same things apply.
So actually, we've come to the end of episode 1 of Time for Mental Health. For the next episode, episode 2, we'll be talking about Chinese New Year and mental health experiences revolving around the festive season, you know.
Very
I'm
exciting.
sure there are many. So stay tuned for that, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Ciao.
See you guys.